What?
Oh, you have yours. What's that? Okay.
I don't know where the questions. I don't know where the song is.
Well, will I ask you a question,
Okay.
the first one? Right. What is the worst thing about being young?
Well, you get lots of homework. It's also pretty. They're like in the middle, like in school, like in the middle of bad and good.
Oh,
What is the worst thing about being old?
not being able to do things that you could do when you were young.
Like, you can't bend down and get stuff on the floor.
Well, I can still do that, but the problem is your body gets a bit stiff.
I know it hurts a lot when you try to
Yeah.
get down when you like are
That's
old.
right, yes. You might get sick more often. Hopefully
Yeah.
I don't. But that's
Yeah,
the problem.
That's pretty bad.
It is pretty bad.
The only time I went to a hospital is my mom to like get me born.
Oh, yeah. Do you wish you were old?
Maybe, so I was old and so I can like buy stuff for my own and have be married, but that'll be you. Do you wish you were young? Why?
Well, the problem about, the great thing about being young is you have more time. You have more time to do things. I could play games, which I did. I used to play cowboys and Indians.
Yeah, that's what I play.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's what I like about being young. I could use my imagination more.
That's a sad story. You can't do that anymore.
Well, I could be an older cowboy. I might do it yet. Will you fall in love? And what will it be like?
I don't know. Like, we'll have babies, it'll be like fun. I'll like have to change. Even though I'll have to change his diaper, it'll be fun.
Ah,
But what about if he cries?
well.
I'll just sing like Ed Sheeran to him, like,
And who do you love now? Who do you love now?
My mom.
Your mom? Your dad?
Yeah, I like my family. Did you fall in love? What was it like?
Yes, it was different for me. I fell in love late.
And did you get married?
No, unfortunately, my partner, she passed away. She died, unfortunately. That was a sad thing. Yeah, she got sick.
I'm gonna cry.
No, don't. No. These things happen, Sean. That's life. But I have very good memories. Very good memories. And you live, a lot of the time you live in your head with memories. You can remember all the good things, and that's the important thing. Well, the advice I would give to you, Sean, is you don't have to be rich to be happy. Do the things you like doing that make you feel good. Because when you're happy yourself, everybody else is happy.
Hey, Sean, do you have advice for Des?
To like act normal. Don't be silly. Don't bully lots of people. The people I know in school, like my friend Alex in school, whenever he gets hurt, I hug him. I might not be able to work, but
Oh, that's a good advice. And be yourself. Don't let other people tell you what you should be. Just be as you are. Isn't that true?
yeah.
And I'm sure your life is going to be very successful. You have all the right things. You have all the right things to do. All your good friends. And keep those friends going. And keep life going. Oops. There you go.
All right. Isn't that wonderful? That's a wonderful conversation of two persons completely from different generations. Connected through questions. Questions. That's how powerful questions is. Questions didn't create divisions. Questions create connections. Questions create understandings. I love questions. I love questions. If I meet you, if I'll sit with you and meet you the first time, you would expect questions after questions after questions from me. Not because I'm interrogating you, because questions for me unlock stories. Questions for me is something that if I'll ask questions to the point that I would understand the person. And that person, if they would open up their life and I would gather information, they would feel safe with me. And that's how important questions is. It deepens relationship. And that is actually many of us miss today. We often see hard questions as threats. And we often see simple questions as something that people are questioning us in a negative way. But God may be using those questions as an invitations. They're just asking questions because they miss you. People are just asking questions because they want to spend time with you. People are just asking questions because they want to talk with you. You know what I notice as a parent? Kids can ask random questions at random times. At Nico's age, he would ask questions out of this world. Dad, why the sky is blue? Huh? One time he said, Dad, why do I need to sleep? I don't want to sleep yet. Oh, but we're sleepy already. We need to sleep because we'll be early. Why do you need to sleep? I'm not allowed to watch TV? Why I'm not allowed to play outside? Why I'm not allowed to step on the snow? They have a lot of questions that so random. They would just say it out of nowhere. One time, Kale, I think at Nico's age, he said that, Dad, if I dig deep enough, would I reach Philippines? From our house there, the backyard, I'll dig some there. Now, those are innocent questions. But some are deep. A couple of years ago, my son, Kale, asked me a question. He said, Dad, what is LGBTQ+? Are they bad people? I was like, oops. I will answer more of that conversation in the fourth or fifth message of our series. But that question was big. It's not a simple, silly question. That question is really deep. I was like, you're just 8 years old. And of course, I asked questions, and we will explain more later. But that was a great conversation. It was an amazing conversation between me and my son. I'll share more of that again in the fourth and fifth message of my series. I'll share a little bit of that later. Recently, about almost a year, or 8 to 12 months siguro, Kale came to me, Dad, I have a question. He would always do that. Dad, I have a question. Dad, I have a question. And I welcome questions. And he said, Dad, if God is so powerful, He's powerful, right? Yeah, He's powerful. He can do everything, right? Yeah, He can do everything. Why not He would kill Satan so that people will not suffer? I was like, go to sleep, okay? My point is, it was an amazing question. I mean, he asked that when he is 10 years old. I asked that when around 20 plus years old. And I realized that, hey, this generation today is really asking not some random, silly, simple questions, but now they're really so into deep questions because they've been involved and exposed to many information. Now, difficult questions are arriving earlier than before. Questions about faith, sexuality, suffering, and identity. Because they have all this phone, iPad, and screen time that they have access to all the information. But parents, come on, parents, let's be honest. Sometimes we panic when we are asked with those kinds of questions. And sometimes we change topics. And sometimes we'll try to avoid it. We give some short answers because we felt unprepared to address and answer those questions. Or sometimes we would just put it under the rug, like, hey, you're too young for that. Let's talk about that when you get old. And don't worry about that for now. You'll know that when you grow up. But what if those questions are actually, again, invitation? Invitation for a deeper conversation. What if Behind every question, a child is asking, can I trust you? A coworker is asking, can you be a safe place for me to share my doubts? A friend would ask you, can you walk with me through these doubts and problems in life? Behind every question, there is a story with the person asking the question. And honestly, this is not just about our kids, parents. Adults ask these questions too. Why God allow pain and suffering? Why am I still single today? Why my marriage failed? Why my mother died? Why my father died? Why? Can I really trust the Bible? Can I really trust God? It seems that He's not answering my... There are many questions. And some of us here, we don't ask them loud. We just quietly wrestle with those questions internally. And here's what I'm learning. Questions are rarely just requests for informations. The questions are not just simply they want to get some information. Questions are invitation into a deeper relationships. And if we mishandle someone's question, your kids, your wife, your husband, your parents, your grandparents, we may accidentally push away the very people God has called us to influence. And this is not happening in my house. It's happening everywhere. It's happening in homes, in your respective homes, in schools, in workplaces, in churches. And that brings us to the bigger reality that we need to talk about. And here's what the research shows. According to Barna and Fuller Institute of Research, okay, this is very important. A number of young people today are living and walking away from faith not because they hate God, but because they felt that they couldn't ask questions. They couldn't ask honest questions to their parents who's going to church, to their pastor, to their church leaders, to their life group leaders. And according to research, 60% to 70% of young people disengage from church after high school. They don't want to go to church after high school. Why? Because they disengage because of the questions that are unanswered. Last week we talked about the number one reason, hypocrisy. That's why we have to model. Today, I want to talk about the second reason why they left. It's because of unanswered questions. Not really unanswered, not after the answer, but it's really about the intention of welcoming the conversation, the questions. Some of their statements are here. Church felt overprotective. I had doubts, but no one talked about them. They would brush me off, they would reject my thoughts, and they would just not value all what I'm saying. My questions felt ignored. I was given rules, but not relationship. Just do this, just read the Bible. Not relationship. They would not even listen to the people. I was told what to believe, but not why. I'm asking why? Just believe. Just pray. Just read the Bible. Why? Just do it. I'm telling you, that's not happening. That's not a good way to do. And we are disconnecting the next generation because of this. And this is heartbreaking. Because many people didn't leave because they were rebellious, not because they were sinning, not because they are hating God. They left because they felt alone. They can't find the connection that they're looking in the church because their questions have been blocked right away. Sometimes they left because of honest questions. And this doesn't happen in the church only. It happens in your marriages, Your spouse asks, are we okay? I think we're okay. Instead of asking more, instead of addressing the question more deeper, we say, shut down. We've shut down the relationship, we shut down our wife. It happens with your children. Sometimes your children, Dad, Mom, why are you not spending time with me anymore? And then we will dismiss them. We don't want to talk about those topics. Just, here's your allowance, and then do what you want to do. It happens in friendship. Some of your friends would come to you and would say, are you upset with me? And then we would avoid the conversation. We would avoid the conversation until we kill the connection. It happens with God. Many prayers starts with a question. Why, God? Why are you forsaking me? Why, where were you, God? Why did you do this? Why are you not answering my prayers? Do you still care for me, God? Are you listening, God? Those are questions. And God loves them. But we thought that God doesn't care. And here's what I've realized. Questions are the language of every relationship. Questions are the language of relationships. If you remove questions in a marriage, you would lose intimacy. If you remove questions from parenting, you would lose trust. If you would remove questions from friendship, you would lose authenticity and accountability. If you would remove questions from faith, you would remove logic and discipleship. Think about this. Questions are the language of relationships. How do you get to know your wife or your husband? Or your wife? Wala. Huh? Yeah, of course, husband will ask the wife. But the first thing, can I have your number? Question. And then you message them, how's your night? How's your sleep? How's your day? Questions. Did you eat already? Questions. What are your dreams? Questions. Until you develop some deep emotions and then you get involved emotionally and you fall in love. That's the language of relationships. How do you build friendships? Questions. Where are you from? What do you do? How do counselors help their patients get healing? Questions. Series of questions and questions and questions. How teachers help students? Questions. Did you understand? Did you do your homework? All questions. And even Jesus asked more than 300 questions in the gospel. In the Gospels alone, Jesus himself, not because he doesn't know, not because Jesus doesn't know what's going on in life. He is God. He knows everything. The reason he asks questions, because questions reveals motives and intentions. The first question that God asked in the Bible, where were you? Adam and Eve, where are you? God doesn't know? He knows. But God cares so much that he wants to ask them to know what's going on in their life. That's how important questions are. It deepens reflections and it builds relationship. And maybe the real problem is this. We become more comfortable giving opinions than asking questions. Who's guilty? Everyone. We become better in reacting than listening. We become faster in correcting than connecting. What if one patient conversation could keep your child closer to you? Could restore your marriage and relationship, a strained relationship? Questions are very important. Because behind many questions isn't someone trying to argue with you or to get information. It may be someone quietly asking, Dad, Mom, honey, sweetie, love, babe, mahal, will you love me enough to stay in this conversation? That's how important questions are. And that leads us to what Peter said in 1 Peter. What is? Always be prepared. This means that don't wait until hard questions will come before you start thinking. You have to prepare for the hard questions to come. You have to prepare when your kids will ask you questions, when your coworkers ask you questions, when your workmates ask you questions, when your parents ask you questions. You have to prepare. You prepare now, you study now, you pray now, you learn now, you grow now because hard questions are coming. Always be prepared. Your teenager son or daughter would ask, how does God allow suffering in this world? If you are not prepared, you will panic. Because you never had that conversation. If your coworker would ask you, why are you a Christian? Because that coworker is seeking some hope, love, joy, peace. It seems that you are doing well, you're happy, you're joyful, you have peace. I don't have. And then they would ask you a question, why are you a Christian? Then you are not prepared. And that's the problem with many of us. Or your child would ask you, how do we know God is real? Then you are not prepared. Just go with me. Just follow me. Just listen to the pastor. Just watch some preaching, podcast. Listen to podcast. No, you always be prepared. Be prepared means I may not know everything, but I care enough to grow and learn with you. That's being prepared means. You don't need to answer the question. You just need to keep the conversation open. It's okay to say that, you know what, that's really a good question, son. That's really a good question, honey. But let me study about it. I remember the time when I was conducting a seminar, and someone asked me a question. I said, you know what, I know the answer, but I'll get back to you next week, next session, and confirm if this is the right answer. But let me answer you, but I will come back later. So it's okay. It's okay if you don't know. That's maturity. If you don't know the answer, you admit it, and then you research about it, you grow, and you learn about it. Always be prepared to give an answer. An answer. Peter didn't say, win the argument. Always be prepared to win the argument. Always be prepared to sound smart. Peter didn't say, always be prepared to destroy atheists, agnostic, and skeptic. Peter is saying, always be prepared. Not embarrass people online. Always be prepared to give answer. Giving answer means you give a thoughtful response. You give an emotional response, not an emotional reaction. Right? One person asked me, why Christians are so hypocrites? I can say, that's what you think. But they're not hypocrites. No, I would not react. I would not block right away. That would cut the conversation right away. Instead of becoming defensive, I said, I agree with you that some Christians have failed badly. I've seen that myself. But you know what? Imperfect Christians doesn't mean we have imperfect Jesus. Jesus is still perfect if Christians, even when Christians are imperfect. And he was like, oh, that's a good point. And then I asked, maybe, where are you coming from? May I ask, why did you ask that question? Right? That is eye-opener. That is a relationship opener. Are you with me? Don't sleep with me. I know this is a boring topic because this is a question. I'm sharing you about the importance of question. Point is, I want you to have an open conversation, not blocking your relationship, not blocking the person and asking question. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you. And this is hard because it says everyone. And that includes your rebellious teenager. That includes your angry spouse, your impatient husband, your skeptical coworker, an unreasonable boss, your doubting friends, your child who always asks questions, meaning everyone who asks questions to you. Be prepared to answer their questions. Questions are invitations, not threat. Everyone who invites you to a conversation, prepared to answer them, to give the reason for the hope that you have. And this is powerful. The hope that you have. Peter is not saying that not merely your opinions, don't give your opinion. Not merely your political views, not merely your church tradition or religion. Give the hope that you have. And who is our hope? Jesus. Give the hope, the experience that you have with Jesus. One person asked, why do you still love God after losing your dad? That's a good question. Ron said, I'm still crying. I'm still grieving. I'm still I still remember my dad. But because of the hope that we have in Jesus, I am looking forward for the day that I will meet Jesus. I will meet Jesus, and I will meet my dad there. Isn't that amazing? That's how we should do it. Do this with what? Gentleness. Tone matters. Ask questions, answer the questions with the right tones. You can have the right truth, but if you have a wrong attitude, you will not have a good communication. You can bring a right message, but if your method is wrong, the message will not really come across to the person. When Rohan would tell me, I think almost 2 years ago, he said, I think sweetie, I feel like we're disconnected. I could say that's not true. I think we are connecting. But of course, because there is a person behind the question, and there must be deeper to that question, and I gently say, help me understand that statement. Help me understand that statement. And maybe your child would say that, you know what, I'm struggling with my faith, Dad. I'm struggling with my faith, Ma. Gentleness would say, thank you for sharing with me, and thank you for being honest with me. Can we journey with this together? Some parents would say, you're such a very rebellious son. You're such a rebellious daughter. I've been bringing you to church since you are, diba? And then that would divide relationship. That would create tensions in the relationship. A gentle answer would be, thank you for sharing your doubts about God. Can I journey with you with your doubts? Respond gently and with respect. Respect means you value the person asking the question, even you disagree with the person. People are not projects, and that's what I want to really emphasize. They are image bearer of God. A coworker of mine asked me, or told me, I disagree with Christianity, with Christianity's belief about sexuality. And I responded with my, thank you for your statement. Thank you for trusting me with that statement. But can we talk about it? That's an invitation. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? That is a question, an invitation for a deeper conversation and great connection. This is how Jesus would want us to respond. Because this is how Jesus responded when he met the prostitute, when he met the sinners. He would balance it with grace and truth. Truth is the message. Grace is the method. He would not compromise the truth, but he would share the truth wrapped with grace. Now, how do we actually do this in real life? This looks good. Okay? This looks good. Okay, if you receive questions, don't take it negatively. Be gentle. Be prepared. Be respectful. That looks good. That's perfect, actually. But what are we going to do when your child, your coworker, your family, your friends, and loved ones would ask difficult questions? What would you do when you are there already? Okay? That is what I'm going to share in the next 10 minutes. Okay? What would you do when your family member would share some topics that will make you uncomfortable? What would you do when your child would give you questions that's so hard to answer? Your coworkers would challenge your faith. What would you do? The next time someone asks you a difficult question, you talk about hope that you have. Talk about hope. T-A-L-K. Okay? First, treasure the person. Like what I said, there is a person asking the question. Before you answer the question, you value the person asking. And some of us, we're so focused, okay, that's a question, let's give an answer right away. Sometimes we get so confused. No? Here's the question. Give the answer right away. We forget that there is a person asking the question. What does it sound like? That's really a good question, son. And I would like this always to do with Kale and Nico. I'm glad you felt safe enough to ask me, to tell me that. Thank you for being honest with me. That takes courage to ask. Dad, I have a question. I have lots of, Nico and Kale have lots of questions, and I take every question as a conversational conversation starter. And when you start understanding the person and have that intention of winning the relationship, that will create an opportunity to make the relationship grow deeper. Huh? Now, your teenage son would say, I'm struggling with my faith. That's really a good question. Why God allowed suffering? That's really a good question. I'm struggling with my faith. I'm glad you felt safe enough to ask me with that. Can you tell me more? No? Can you tell me more? Your spouse would say, are we okay, sweetie? Are we okay, love? Thank you for being honest. I want to know more about your statement. Okay? Your friend would say, I don't know if I believe in God anymore. You don't panic. You treasure the relationship. That takes courage to ask. That takes courage to share that to me. Okay, listen, folks. People are more likely to receive the truth when they know they are loved. They will listen to you if they felt they're safe with you. Our rule at home, whenever, no dumb questions, just ask any questions that you have. And when they ask questions, I would always say, thank you for your trust and honesty. Can you tell me more? I want to know more about you. How did you feel? Why did you ask this question? Where did you get this question? What did you watch? Who did you talk to? What did you witness? Those are good questions. You have to understand the person first. This is a practical strategy for you to deal with your kids, okay? Young parents. And then, next one is when somebody asks you a question, not only treasure the person, you have to ask back. Don't be quick to answer. Don't rush to answer right away. Sometimes the first question isn't the real question. The first question isn't the real question. There is a real question deeper than that first question. Ask, what made you ask that? Dad, you know what? I'm so tired of life. What made you ask that? That's not the question. What happened? What did you mean? What do you mean? What do you think? Has something happened recently that's made you ask those questions? Now, why these questions matter? Why it matters when we ask them back questions and series of questions? Because sometimes the question of why God allows suffering, it's not really the question. Deep in that question, it actually means why my mom died, why my dad died, why my son died. Sometimes the question, why the church feels fake. That's not really the question. The question is, some people in the church really hurt me. That's why you need to ask series of questions. Sometimes the question of, does God care about me? It's not really the question. The question is, you know what? I feel forgotten because God is not answering my prayer. I feel forgotten because I don't have a job today. I feel forgotten because all my friends now, they have papers, but I don't have papers. Those are the real questions. That's why we need to ask back some questions. Make sure to ask before assuming. So when people around you, your loved ones and friends would ask you questions, don't assume right away. You ask series of questions to understand the person and to understand the question. Okay? Are we communicating? I know this is too informational, okay, and practical. The third one is lead with truth and grace. This is where you balance the question. Truth gives direction, but grace gives connection. Truth is the message. Grace is the method. You need both. Not truth first, not grace only, but both. When you receive a question, take it as an invitation, but you have to understand the person. You You understand the question, and then you have to put into consideration grace and truth. Grace means you don't shame the person asking the question. Truth means you don't avoid the question. Are you still with me? Huh? Okay. Maybe I'm the only one enjoying this question. No? I love questions, and I love conversations. Let me give you some example, okay? Kale, at this age, Nico, at this age, around 2 to 6, Nico would ask me, Dad, where is Jesus? At some point, actually, Kale asked me, have I met Jesus? We've been praying to Jesus many times, no? Lord, it was so funny. We were laughing, and Ron and I was really, we want to laugh, but it was just a so cute question, no? I haven't seen him. I can't see him. I haven't met him. So where is Jesus? Where does he live? No? That is a cute question. And I could have brushed it off because Nico or Kale during that time is just so young. And that question is cute, but it's not really deep. So I was like, just mind you. Don't mind it. No? But I told Nico or Kale during that time, Nico, you know what? You know how we can see the wind? Because I want to take that question as a conversation, a deep connection between me and my little boys, my little sons. We can see the wind, but we know it's real, right? Look, I grab his hand, his arm, and then I blew. See? You feel it? Yeah, I feel it. That's something how God works. We may not see him with our eyes, but he is real. He loves you, and he always with you. Of course, we have, there's more. That's not how we converse, okay? This is just to, but it was a good conversation. But you get my point, right? That's how you deal with questions of your young kids. Those are cute, silly, or some not deep questions, but it is an opportunity for you to really engage them into a good conversation. Now, at Kale's age, he have different questions. He's now 10, and Kale started to ask deeper questions. One day, he asked me, Dad, what is LGBTQ+? And then I was surprised. He followed up with, are they bad people? And I was like, oh, this generation is hearing things that really I heard when I was older. I have two choices during the time with Kale. I can panic, or I can be a loving father to him. And of course, I asked a series of questions. What made you ask that question? What do you mean by that question? And then he shared something. Oh, I have a playmate like this. I heard someone like this. I heard someone have experience like this. So he's sharing his experience. And after hearing his experience, what I learned is he's not really asking from within, but he is some curious about things. So I took that opportunity to have a conversation with my son. And then I said, son, no, they are not bad people. They are not bad people, and I want you to know that every person is loved by God and made in his image. And God, at the same time, has designed for our lives our relationships and sexuality. And we'll talk more about that as you grow, but always remember, we treat people with love and respect. And of course, again, he had some series of questions after questions after questions, and I have a series of questions after questions after questions, and I'm telling you, that was a great conversation. We had an amazing talk. I'll share more of that in that fourth and fifth message of this series. But that conversation is just amazing, full of grace and truth. I was so amazed that I balanced grace because I prepared. I prepared myself for a series of questions from my kids. And that's what you should be doing. If you want the next generation, if you want to invest the next generation in which God has called you to do, you have to be prepared. Another time Kale asked me a question is this, Dad, why do bad things happen? That's again another deep question. Of course, I have a series of questions again after that. I understand my son. I know my son already, but I don't know why he asked that question. So I asked him a question. What made you ask that, son? What happened that you see? Did you see any bad things happen to people? What do you mean by that? What happened recently that made you ask that question? And of course, he shared. And actually, he asked that question based on the people we met. Probably he heard that from the people we've been counseling. Dad, I heard that, oh, that's where you're coming from. And I answered my son this way. Son, the sad thing is we live in a broken world. Sin broke this world. But the truth is God desires to restore this broken world. That's why Jesus came, to restore that was broken, and one day he will make all things new. Of course, again, don't take this into face value. There is a lot in that conversation. Okay? But that is the whole point of the conversation. Then we prayed, we talked, and we prayed for the people that are hurting. See how I take the question into a conversation, to a discipleship session, and then we prayed for those people that are hurting? Take questions that way. If you are a parent today, take every opportunity. That question is an opportunity for you to engage your kids. Now, remember what Cale asked less than a year ago or 10 months ago? He said, Dad, if God is all powerful, He's powerful, right? Yeah. He can do everything, right? Yeah. Why doesn't He just destroy Satan and so that some people will not suffer? And after I hear this question, I didn't like it. I love it. I love this question because my son is trying, I have this inquisitive mind to really like reason and find some logic behind every situation. I didn't shut him down. I didn't say, you're too young for this. What I said, I told him, son, you know what? That question is actually the same with why God allows suffering in this world. And in simple, I explained to him, okay? Son, God is all powerful. He can do everything. This is a little bit apologetic, so please bear with me, okay? He can do everything, but God will never act against His own nature. And one of His biggest part of God's nature is love. And real love requires real choices. And he, of course, he doesn't get it. Right? Dad, I'm just asking about why God can't destroy Satan so that we will have peace. One day he even asked me, if I blame Adam and Eve with all our problems. If I could be Adam, I will not eat that tree, fruit. No? And that's connected to this. Then I gave him another illustration to help him understand my point, okay? Then I said, son, let me put it this way. Imagine if I force your mom to marry me and love me. Would that be real love? And my son said, no, you're forcing her. Exactly. That's not real love. And that violates God's nature of love. Then I explained, love only becomes real when someone freely chooses it. In the same way, God gave humanity free will, the ability to choose Him or to reject Him. And sadly, human rebellion brought sin. It's not God. God can do everything. God can make this world a perfect place, but that would violate our free will. Pain, brokenness, and suffering are part of this thing called free will. It's not God that brought pain and suffering into this world, son. It is us because of our choice to reject Him. But then I told him the good news. I didn't stop there. I said, God didn't ignore our suffering. He stepped into it. Remember Jesus, son? He suffered. He came, He suffered and died for us and defeated Satan through the cross and resurrection. And then I told him, one day, Jesus will fully overcome and remove evil forever. Right now, God is still giving people time to know Him before the final day of judgment. Now, this is just, again, for presentation purposes. But in that conversation, we have an amazing talk. We had amazing conversation back and forth. He reasoned, he gave his argument, and I welcome it. I love it. Come on, ask me more questions, and I love it. And then I would respond it with love, and I balance it with truth and grace. I would understand him, I would understand the question, and I balance it with truth and grace. Truth and grace. And that's how you invest to the next generation. It was an amazing, good conversation we have. I tell you, I love it whenever my son would ask me. Now, there are some questions that's my Kale, 7 to 12. But there are some questions that circles us, right? Pastor Jeff, how do you know Christianity is the right religion? Why does God feel so far away? Why do Christians seem judgmental? Oh, again, this is not the real question. There are questions under this question. Why does the Bible say about uncertain topics? About Canaanites, about murder, about mass murdering, right? How to discern God's will? Should I pursue this career? Should I pursue this school course, etc.? Is He the one? That's the question of, I will not tell his name. Is He the one? Is He the one? No? And this is what I've learned. The worst thing I can do is to become defensive and avoid all their questions. Now, I spend time with them. I go with them, sit with them, have coffee with them, and I would ask first, thank you for that honest question, guys. And I'm really glad you asked those questions. And can you tell me more about those questions? Right? That opens our conversation. That deepens our relationship. Then we talk about it, we pray about it, sometimes over coffee, sometimes over meal. Here's what I understand or realize as a dad and as a pastor. People don't need you to have all the answers immediately. They just need to know you are the safe person to share their thought. They just want to know if they are safe with you. When I spend time with these people, they open up to me what they can't open up to their parents. And that's what I love with this conversation that starts with question. Message, method, grace, and truth. You keep the conversation open and grow deeper. That's why the circles, I can laugh with them. We laugh together, no? They push me in the basketball. They sometimes abuse me. No, just kidding. Never do that. No. But it's just like we're friends because I never block their questions. There is a relationship. I remember there's one couple that said, Kuya, the person that fixed our TV and do our electrical wiring and all, they visited our church during the anniversary. And that person told us that, you know what, I observed, you are just, in Tagalog, parang barkada nyo lang yung pastor nyo, no? No, you understand that, no? It's like, your pastor is just your pal. Your pastor is just your buddy. And that's because I want us to have conversation. I will never block you. My last point. Let's read that. Last point. Okay? The next time someone asks you a difficult question is this. Keep the conversation open. Keep the conversation going. Okay? Don't aim for one perfect answer and then done. Okay? I'm telling you parents, I'm telling you circles, I'm telling you life group leaders, don't make the conversation, keep it going. Keep it going. Okay? Keep it going. Let's talk about this. We cannot talk about this in one sitting. Maybe we can reschedule another time. Okay? Let's make sure I'm here for you. I want to learn more about you and about your questions. Your teenager son or daughter will not fully understand faith in one conversation. Your marriage will not heal in one conversation. Your friends may not believe in Jesus and have faith and hope in one coffee meeting. But one healthy conversation can open door for more. So keep the conversation going. Sometimes the greatest answer you can give to someone is your willingness to journey with them. Not just the answer, but to keep the conversation going. Now, imagine, okay? Imagine what would happen if we stopped treating tough questions as threat and started treating them as opportunities. Opportunity to have conversation and deep relationship with people. What if every difficult questions became an opportunity to deepen your relationship with your husband, your wife, your kids, your coworker, your church mate, your life group mates? What if your child learned that, you know what, I can talk to mom and dad about anything? What if your teenager would say, I don't need to hide my feelings. I don't need to hide my doubts because my parents will walk me through it. What if your spouse felt like, I can be honest with what I feel to my husband or to my wife because he would listen to me and he would listen without being attacked. He would not attack me. What if your friend knew, I can wrestle with doubts and fears and ask these questions and still loved by my friend? What if this church become a place known where people can ask questions to each other? People can ask questions and still encounter love, grace, and learn the truth. Imagine if your child asking difficult questions today, and they don't need to Google it, they don't need to AI it, they don't need to go to TikTok, to YouTube influencers. The first option they have is you as parents, because you are not blocking their questions. You are spending time with them. Imagine, they would say, my mom, my dad, they may not know everything, but they will listen to me. I love that. I want my son to say that. My mom and dad, they're not perfect people, but I am sure they will walk with me. They will pray for me. They will journey with me. I want the circles to say that. You know what, my pastor, he may not be perfect, but I know I can call him anytime and ask him anything. Barry told me, the first phone name, he was scanning his phone. I'm sorry, I didn't plan to share this. So. He was scanning his phone. He's thinking, who are the people that I can call? And he said, very, very few. He didn't mention my name. He said, I have a very few people that I can go. And he said, you are my pastor. You're not even my pastor, you're my brother. And I think that's what I want all of us here to feel. We are a safe place. This church is a safe place. Your life group is a safe place. Ask any questions. Just be yourself. We will not judge you. We will love you for who you are. And we would love to know you more. Imagine if some young people today would stay in the church because someone listened long enough to them, while the world are busy rejecting them. And let me say this to the parents. Parents in this room, listen. You are not just raising good kids. You are not just shaping the future husbands and wives. You are not just raising future leaders, future parents, or future disciple makers. So, please listen. The way you respond to their questions today of your 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old kids, 18 years old, 19 years old, 21, 25 years old kids may shape how they see God tomorrow. My whole point of this message, friends, is this. Spend time with your loved ones, your family and friends. Invest in the next generation. Not only on Sunday service, not only on Circles Fridays, but through everyday conversation. During car drives, I love car drives. I love long drives because that's my time with my son. Dad, I have a question. Bring it on, son. We're talking. I love questions. That's how I take every opportunity. Car drives, dinner table. I want you to make this as your rule. No phone on your dining table. No phone in your dining table. That is interruption. That corrupts, affects your intimacy. As husband and wife, as parents and kids. I spend time with some people. How often do you have meal with your parents? Together. Probably twice a week. 3 times a week. Parents, if you want to invest the next generation, have a meal with them every day where you can engage them. If they don't have questions, you ask them questions. That's the power of questions. How come you don't eat? We only eat after service. Seriously, parents? Take your kids to coffee shop. My son Nico likes Tim Hortons. That's the best coffee shop ever, Dad. Tim Hortons. It's like, seriously? Of course, because Maring Kim is the GM there. But my point is, the best thing there is not the coffee. The best thing there is when we have his family talk. And he knows my order. Last night, I have to prepare my message after the birthday party. I passed by Tim Hortons. And he ordered for me. Can I have double, please? And then the cashier said, say it again. Double, please. It's not about it. It's the time that I spend and that we spend with our kids. So my encouragement to you, parents, imagine the next generation knowing God because you spend time with them. Spend time during bedroom prayers. After church moment, go. I like it. You don't want to leave. You just want to talk there sometimes, no? And that's discipleship. Now, maybe one day, your son, your daughter, your friend, your spouse will face the hardest question of their life. And they would remember one conversation you have. That you stayed. You didn't block them. You spent time with them. You talked with them. During the time that they struggled, you pointed them to Jesus. During the time that they doubted, you listened. You didn't reject them. You didn't judge them. Because when you talk to them, treasure them as a person, you understand more about the question, you balance truth and grace, and then you keep the conversation going, the marriage gets restored. A child stayed to Jesus. They will not walk away from God. A teenager doesn't walk away from faith. A friend will experience healing, find hope and peace in Jesus. And the next generation will stay connected with God. So this is my last encouragement to you. Every question is an invitation. Turn it into a deeper connection. Because sometimes the question, the conversation you almost avoided becomes the relationship God uses to change someone's life forever. So don't fear difficult, hard questions. Use them. Take advantage of them. They are not interruptions, they are invitations. Invitations to deepen relationship, invitation to disciple people, invitation to pass faith to the next generation, invitation to point every person in your circle to Jesus. So I hope and pray that you will be intentional with this thing, the power of questions in your relationship. It's long, slow, but I hope you learned something.